Strasser here to talk about today's planning, which we are going to be looking at the climax and the falling action today. So we're going to be looking at kind of what happens when the father and the son, or the father and the kid, get to the fishing hole, right? The journey of getting there and what actually happens when they're there. And then we're also going to be looking at an event or two that happens before the resolution. So I need you to make sure that you have your planner and the poem out in front of you so that we can start to get ready for the climax. Last time we were together, we talked about how, there's some trouble at school because the dad's gone all the time for work. And so, the son feels like he doesn't have a lot of attention. He's really wanting a connection with somebody. And so he does whatever he does at school and kind of gets in trouble. And so the father's really upset. They have to figure out what they're going to do. And so the dad kind of suggests, okay, we're going to go fishing together. And I'm going to dig deeper into what's really going on with my son. And so I can kind of understand him a little bit more and figure it out. So we're leading up to that. I believe you need to find the section of your planner that's called the climax. And this is going to be kind of where we figure out what we can include from the actual poem that needs to be in these scenes. So we should probably have something about them getting to the fishing hole. Maybe there's conversations that are happening during it. But ultimately, we need to find things that happen in the poem that need to be included in the story. So your goal today is to find 3 things from the poem. That's what these 1, 2, 3 section are. You need to find 3 details from the poem that you're actually going to put in your narrative. So here's a great example. Something that I might really want to put in my story that is an example from the poem is describing the setting. So maybe a detail from the poem that I put in the climax is that the boy sees that it's a really murky, reedy spot when the two of them get there. Maybe that's a detail that I include. I would put like murky, reedy spot or kind of a gross fishing hole. I might put that over here as my detail 1 from the poem that I'm going to put in my story. I want you to find 3 things from the poem that you're going to include in your narrative. So these are specific things that are said in the poem that are literally written. What are you going to add to the actual story? So I'm going to give you some time right now. Feel free to pause to pick 3 things from here that you want to make sure are scenes in your actual story. All right, welcome back. Thanks, guys, for doing that. The next step we're going to do is we're going to actually talk about the climax. Okay, what does the climax actually look like? What is it going to be? In reality, and we're in this blank space over here, we're going to kind of plan our climax. Well, the biggest thing that happens is the two of them fish together. So we need to write something over here that has to do with them fishing together, because that's literally the point of why we're here. But a lot of you know that other things happen in this poem besides just the two of them fishing. We see that the boy learns about his father's special spot. Fishing spot, and his skills, right? We figure out that the boy not only watches and learns from his dad, but he kind of mimics him. He wants to learn the same skills that his father has, and they kind of bond. The thing that doesn't happen in the poem that I think should happen in the story is that a conversation is had about what is really going on with the son. Okay, this is where some dialogue opens up. The son's going to need to open up about what's happening in his own mind and his own heart. And the dad's going to have to ask some questions. Okay, so there's going to have to be a conversation, a back and forth, because they're going to have a heart-to-heart. They need to figure it out. I'm going to give you some time to get those things down as far as the climax. Please make sure that you've got your 3 details from the poem that you're going to add to your narrative for this part, and then we can move on to the falling action. For the falling action, this is going to be a place that, leads to the lead up. This is where some actual understanding is going to take place. This is where we can actually start to see a breakthrough in the father and the son's relationship. And we can kind of get a little bit of healing happening between our characters. So right now, what I'd like you to do is I want you to think about how the poem ended. So the poem ends with, the boy kind of watching and observing his father, and then he kind of gets excited, and the father remains patient and calm. This might be another great time for there to be something that happens before the end where the dad actually starts to explain himself. So we know that the dad is working a lot, which is why the son was so upset. I think the dad needs to be able to explain his work, or explain, I've been really having a hard time too, not being around you as much, or I can tell that I haven't maybe been the best dad I could be, some sort of explanation. And then I want you to include over here on your own, this is where you can kind of come up with your own ideas. For your falling action event, I want you to kind of plan where that's going to take place. Are they going to be leaving the fishing hole together and having this falling action event? Are they maybe on the drive home? Maybe they get something to eat after they have their time fishing together. Plan your falling action event of where the breakthrough is going to happen between our characters, and some healing is going to take place in their relationship. Because again, the ultimate goal is that the father and the son, their relationship gets better. But we can't do that, and we need to see that without an event. We have to have an event that shows that their relationship is getting better. So I'm going to ask you to kind of take some time right now to plan that and use your imagination there about how you want that to look. What's going to happen after you plan these things, there will be some group time to share. So you're going to get in groups of roughly 2 to 4. This is what we tried to do earlier in the week, and it didn't go super well. So what you're going to do is you're going to get in groups and just kind of share what you put for the climax, what details you're going to include from the poem, and then you're going to share out kind of how you're going to plan your falling action, what's going to happen that's going to lead up to the resolution, the end of a story. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and end this video here. Make sure that you have something to contribute to the group conversation, because I've asked the guest teacher to make sure that she's walking around and listening for good conversation about the writing. So go ahead and finish that up, and then you can get in groups and share out. Thanks, guys.